Hi everybody, this is Agnes from Sediment, and today let's discover wine destinations that must be on the bucket list of every real wine lover. This is a wine channel and we talk about all things wine. But I am a strong believer that you cannot truly understand wine unless you go to the place where the grapes are grown and the wine is made, actually talk with winemakers and see what it's all about. There are certainly some winemaking regions that are worth to visit, not only because they are responsible for some of the world's greatest wines, but also because they are amazing places to travel to. And these are my favorite European winemaking regions to visit this summer. Visiting vineyards in Austria is very easy. Even if you are in Vienna for only a few days, you can hop in a taxi and drive up to the vineyards of Vienna. That's right, it is one of the few, if not the only, capitals in Europe that grows vines. So you can visit wineries and taste wines within the boundaries of the city, only to be back 2 hours later in Vienna to finish your business meeting or go to the opera. But for me, the more exciting destination is Wachau, which might not come as a huge surprise to many of you. It is literally less than an hour's drive away from Vienna, and you will find yourself almost squeezed between the steep slopes and terraces of the vineyards on the one side and the Danube River from the other. The Wachau has been included as the UNESCO World Heritage Site and is quite an exciting place to visit, not only for wine lovers, but also for history and architecture enthusiasts and gourmands. Some of my favorite white wines are produced here, from Riesling and local grape variety Grüner Veltliner. They are offered in variety of styles here, starting from simple, crisp and refreshing to their top Smaragd wines full of concentration and with capacity to age for decades. Furthermore, it is not only wines everywhere, Wachau is also known for its apricots. And amongst wine bottles, I always take home a couple of jars of apricot jam. If you do travel in summer, make sure you visit local Heurigen. These are essentially home restaurants, or more like taverns, which usually are open for a limited time in summer. Traditionally, they will serve fresh, still fermenting wine, locally called Sturm. Nowadays, you can also have finished wines from their portfolio, but note, each Heurigen can only serve the wine they produce, so don't expect wide wine selection from across Europe. They will also be serving traditional local food, starting from cold snacks, meat cut, and cheeses, and often you can also get some hot dishes as well. They are definitely worth visiting, and trust me when I say that these have been some of my best and most memorable dining experiences in Austria. Wineries are usually open for visitors, but I would recommend booking a tasting beforehand to avoid any disappointment. There's also a nice app you can download, My Wachau. With this app, you can follow all the vineyards as you hike around the area or enjoy a glass of wine on a boat while overlooking the vineyards from the river. Wine professionals like to split Rhone into northern and southern regions. And indeed, these areas are very different in terms of climate, topography, grape varieties, and wine styles. But for this video, I will consider them as whole and make sure to visit them both if you have time. The Rhone Valley is located in southeastern France along the Rhone River, mostly between the cities of Avignon and Lyon. And while the Wachau is dominated by white grape varieties, Rhone is a region where the majority of grapes grown are red. The southern part of Rhone is relatively flat and distinctively Mediterranean. It can become quite hot during the summer months, so for me, who does not function well in temperatures above 28 degrees Celsius, I prefer to visit this area in late spring or early autumn. We read so much about the unique terroir of Chateauneuf-du-Pape, one of the most popular appellations of the southern Rhone, the Galettes and the Mistral, but we cannot truly understand the seriousness of it unless we experience it ourselves. The Mistral wind is so strong that it can sometimes be almost impossible to spend time outside, let alone open car doors. Because of that wind, vineyards are often planted at the angle, and over time the fierce Mistral will straighten them out. I myself never knew that wind can be so strong unless it was during a storm. A scenery completely changes as we drive from south to north. As the weather becomes cooler, the vineyards start to rise, and here they often are planted on terraces. On the same day in southern Rhone, I was wearing a summer dress, only to arrive in Saint-Joseph, where I needed to wear wind coat and scarf. Here in the northern Rhone, you can visit some of the steepest vineyards in France, which are Côte-Rôtie. And it is definitely worth having at least one lunch at the top of the Hermitage Hill. Outside larger estates, I have not noticed widely developed infrastructure for winery visitors, which means that if you manage to book a visit or tasting, it will be so much more personal. I do see wineries investing in new visitors' room and tasting areas, but for me, talking with a winemaker or someone who is deeply involved in the everyday life of the winery is so much more exciting than with an employee representing the visitors center. And you might already know that one of my highlights last year was visiting Pierre Gonon in Saint-Joseph. Since the moment I visited this region, I have fallen in love with it. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to travel to Douro often. And after a while, you start to think that you have built an image in your mind, and it certainly must not be as breathtaking as you once experienced it. And then you come back and realize that everything you remember is exactly of the same magnitude. I have a story to share. The second time I visited, I took my family with me. We rented a car and at some point had to cross a small bridge with almost non-existent railing. The bridge was tiny and we were going very slowly. Coming towards us was another car, and the guy who was driving it had his mouth open and he was leaning lower to look through the window to take in all that breathtaking view. Unfortunately, he missed the fact that he was steering the car towards the middle of the bridge directly at us. At the last minute, he managed to pull away and only our side mirror got damaged. But it tells you something about the view, doesn't it? You can visit and taste almost all the top names of port wine in the twin city of Porto, Vila Nova de Gaia. Here you can take tours, visit the cellars, taste wines while sitting between the barrels, and learn about the differences between variety of port styles and the increasingly more common still wine this region offers. I am not someone who loves to travel to cities, but it is definitely worth spending some time here, even if it is only for wine and gastronomy. However, port wine actually starts in the Douro Valley in the vineyards around 80 to 100 kilometers inland from Porto City. The best way to explore these impressive sites is by the car. However, I must admit it will require a certain skill. Some roads are small and they bend and turn and shift, and you remember the bridge story. Furthermore, if you plan not simply to drive around but also to visit quintas, restaurants, or even stay in the hotels in the valley, you have to understand that some of the roads leading up to them can be ultra steep, while simultaneously making 180-degree turns. And often these will be bumpy dirt roads, but trust me when I say I have never been disappointed when I reached the top. Another great way to enjoy the scenery is by boat. This way you can truly appreciate every single twist and turn this valley offers, including gaining a better understanding of the planting systems in the region. I can tell you without a doubt that Douro Valley is definitely amongst my top winemaking regions to visit. It is still so authentic and in many ways wild, showing you that nature is a force humans need to reckon with. And with synergy and respect towards each other, marvelous wines can be made. I often say that I don't have any talents. I feel like I would like to write or paint, but I just don't have it in me. Well, when I visited this place for the first time, I thought I could write symphonies. So there you go, 3 amazing destinations for wine lovers. And let me know in the comments what are your favorite wine regions to visit. Some of you might want to add Bordeaux to the list, and I agree, so make sure to watch my other video about perfect day in Bordeaux.